Somewhere on the cobbles of Weatherfield, a secret is about to come crashing into the light, and it might already be too late to save him. If you've been watching Coronation Street over the past year, you already know that Todd Grimshaw's story has been one of the most harrowing the show has ever told. Now, insiders are teasing what's being described as a tragic new turn for Todd, and fans are bracing themselves for what could be one of the most devastating chapters in Corrie history. So what exactly is coming? Why is everyone talking about it? And could this finally be the moment Todd's nightmare starts to unravel, or the moment it gets worse? Let's get into it. If you're new to this story, here's the quick catch-up. Todd Grimshaw is one of Coronation Street's longest-running characters, currently played by Gareth Pierce, who took over the role after original actor Bruno Langley departed the show. Todd has been through more than his fair share of drama over the years. Kidnappings, custody battles, complicated relationships. But nothing has come close to what he's been living through since he fell for a man named Theo Silverton. On the surface, Theo seemed like a charming, steady presence in Todd's life. Underneath, viewers have watched him slowly transform into one of the soap's most chilling villains, a master manipulator who has spent months isolating Todd from the people who love him, controlling his money, monitoring his movements, and subjecting him to psychological and physical abuse behind closed doors. It's a storyline the show has clearly treated with enormous care. Coronation Street has worked with Gallup, the LGBTQ+ anti-abuse charity, to make sure Todd's experience is portrayed responsibly, and that decision alone tells you how seriously the production is taking this arc. This isn't just soap drama for shock value. It's a deliberate, carefully built narrative about coercive control, and it's resonated with viewers precisely because it feels uncomfortably real. For a long time, Todd managed to hide what was happening from almost everyone around him: his boss George Shuttleworth, his colleague Christina, even his own family. The one person who came closest to seeing the truth was his ex-boyfriend, Billy Mayhew, who spent weeks growing suspicious of Theo's behavior. Billy eventually saw enough to convince him that Todd was in real danger, and he made a promise to help him escape. That promise led to one of the most gut-wrenching moments the show has produced in years. During a special crossover episode with Emmerdale, nicknamed Corriedale, Billy, Todd, and Theo were all traveling home together on a minibus from a wedding when the vehicle was caught up in a devastating multi-car crash. In the chaos, Theo made a choice that would define everything that came next. Instead of helping Billy, he left him to die, protecting his own secret rather than saving the one man who might have exposed him. Billy's death sent shockwaves through Weatherfield, and it left Todd not only grieving his closest ally, but completely unaware that the man he still loved was responsible. That's the devastating position Todd has been stuck in ever since. Just when he seemed ready to finally walk away from Theo, Billy's death pulled him back in, wrapped in grief and guilt he doesn't even fully understand. Producer Kate Brooks has spoken about just how fragile Todd's headspace has become in the aftermath, describing him as someone who no longer feels strong enough to leave, someone convinced that if he'd never confided in Billy that night, his friend might still be alive. It's exactly the kind of psychological trap that makes coercive control so difficult to escape from in real life, and the show has leaned into that reality rather than shying away from it. Meanwhile, Theo hasn't stopped. If anything, his grip on Todd has tightened. Storylines already broadcast have shown him cutting Todd off from his finances, sabotaging his job, humiliating him in front of friends, and even resorting to outbursts of violent temper. There was a particularly frightening moment where Theo grabbed a kitchen knife during an argument on his own birthday, leaving Todd visibly shaken. Time and again, just as it looks like someone might finally see through Theo's mask, whether it's George noticing Todd's exhaustion or Billy clocking the tension between the couple before his death, Theo manages to talk, manipulate, or threaten his way out of it. So that brings us to now, and the reason this story is suddenly everywhere again. Coronation Street bosses have begun teasing a significant new escalation for Todd heading further into 2026, and the word being used behind the scenes is tragic. Recent spoilers point to Todd's physical and emotional state deteriorating even further. Reports suggest he's been left utterly drained by Theo's cruelty, deprived of proper food and money, to the point where he ends up collapsing in the street in full view of people who care about him. It's being framed as a moment where the toll of the abuse becomes impossible to hide any longer, even if Todd himself is still desperate to protect Theo's secret. There's also a special standalone episode reportedly in the works, described by producers as unlike anything the show has done before, focusing entirely on Todd and Theo's relationship and telling their story from a completely different angle. Alongside that, viewers have already caught a glimpse of a tense, mysterious, behind closed doors incident involving the couple, one that left friends like George and Christina deeply unsettled, and Todd's old friend Sarah Barlow turning up at his flat uninvited, despite Theo's efforts to keep her away. Whatever happened in that flat is clearly being built up as a turning point, and speculation is already running wild about exactly what it means. And then there's the twist that's really got fans talking. Coronation Street has confirmed a huge flash-forward mystery arriving this spring, centered on a big event where one Weatherfield resident will be found dead, with several characters lined up as potential victims or suspects. Theo Silverton's name has been thrown into that mix, not just as a possible culprit, but as someone who might not survive the fallout of his own actions. With Theo increasingly cornered by his guilt over Billy's death and other characters like Carl Webster now aware of what he did, the walls do appear to be closing in on him. Whether Todd ends up an unwitting witness, a suspect, or even a victim caught in the crossfire of that mystery is exactly the kind of cliffhanger Corrie thrives on. Naturally, all of this has sent the fan community into overdrive. Social media has been full of viewers voicing a mixture of dread and desperate hope. Dread that Todd's story could be heading somewhere even darker before it gets better, and hope that this long-awaited, tragic turn might finally be the catalyst that exposes Theo once and for all. Plenty of fans have pointed out how emotionally exhausting this storyline has become to watch, in the best possible way, praising Gareth Pierce's performance for capturing Todd's fear and isolation so convincingly. Others have been dissecting every spoiler photo and trailer clip frame by frame, trying to work out whether tragic means a health scare, a public breakdown, an exposure of the truth, or something far more permanent. Entertainment outlets covering the soap have echoed that uncertainty, noting that Corrie's production team has been unusually tight-lipped about exactly what form this next chapter will take, which has only fueled more speculation rather than settling it. It's worth remembering that Coronation Street has a track record of using storylines like this one to spark real conversations, and this arc has already done exactly that. Fans and campaigners alike have praised the show for shining a light on the experience of male victims of domestic abuse in same-sex relationships, an experience that's historically been underrepresented on mainstream television. If this next tragic chapter is the moment Todd's suffering is finally acknowledged by the people around him, it could become one of the most important beats in the entire storyline, a moment of validation after months of him carrying this alone. So, what could this actually mean going forward? If reports of a collapse or health crisis are accurate, this could easily be the turning point where George, Christina, or another concerned cast member finally puts the pieces together, something the show has been building towards for a long time. It would also give Theo's manipulation nowhere left to hide, especially with his own guilt over Billy already eating away at him behind closed doors. On the other hand, there's a very real possibility that the show is setting up something even bleaker before any resolution arrives. A near miss, a dangerous confrontation, or Todd being pulled deeper into danger precisely because Theo feels his control slipping. Given that Theo is already being floated as a potential victim in the spring's big death mystery, there's also room for an ending where Todd is left to pick up the pieces of a relationship that implodes in the most dramatic way possible, whether that means Theo finally being exposed, arrested, or meeting a far darker fate of his own. There's also the question of what this means for the show more broadly. Corrie has invested an enormous amount of narrative real estate and emotional weight into Todd and Theo's story over the better part of a year, and a payoff like this needs to land in a way that honors everything viewers have sat through. Given how carefully the show has handled the subject matter so far, working alongside Gallup throughout, it seems unlikely they'd let this next chapter feel exploitative rather than meaningful. If anything, the framing of a tragic return suggests the show wants viewers to feel the full emotional gravity of just how far Todd has fallen before any light appears at the end of the tunnel. As for what fans are speculating right now, theories are all over the place. Some believe Todd's collapse will be the spark that finally gets Billy's death properly investigated, potentially exposing Theo's role in it. Others think the special episode focusing solely on the couple will reveal, in real time, exactly what happened during that mysterious behind-closed-doors incident that's already left friends rattled. There's also a theory gaining traction that Todd himself could become entangled in the spring death mystery, either as someone protecting a terrible secret or as someone whose own safety is threatened as Theo's grip becomes more desperate and unpredictable. Nothing has been confirmed on that front, but the pieces the show has been laying down all point toward Todd being central to whatever happens next. Whatever direction Coronation Street takes, one thing feels certain. This is shaping up to be one of the most talked about storylines the show has delivered in years, and the tease of a tragic turn for Todd suggests the writers aren't done putting him through the ringer just yet. Whether it ends in devastation, exposure, or finally some long overdue relief, viewers are going to be glued to their screens as it unfolds. To sum it all up, Todd Grimshaw's harrowing storyline with Theo Silverton is heading into a new and reportedly tragic phase, following the fallout of Billy Mayhew's death, mounting suspicion from those around the couple, and a looming spring mystery that could spell the end for Theo. Fans are anxiously speculating about exactly what's coming, while praising the show for handling such a difficult and important subject with real sensitivity. One thing is for sure, Weatherfield is about to get a whole lot darker before there's any hope of the sun breaking through. That's everything we know so far about this dramatic new tease for Todd on Coronation Street. What do you think is coming for him next? Exposure, escape, or something far worse? Let us know your theories in the comments below. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss another Coronation Street update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.